Hello, everybody that is with me on all the other streaming services. About to get to Facebook here real quick and see how it's going. Hello, everybody on Facebook. How's it going? Are you ready for the game tomorrow? That's all I want to know. Are you ready to see the Cowboys play the New Orleans Saints tomorrow, Thursday night? I'll be at Knockouts in South Dallas off of Riverfront Street. Come and join us out there. It is a crazy place with a crazy sound system. There's TVs everywhere. The beer is ice cold. If you've ever been to a Twin Peaks, they have that 29-degree ice cold frosty beverages that you're really going to enjoy if you show up tomorrow. If not, we will be on the stream. Walt and I will be on the stream. WD-40's got it going on, and we're going to have a good time doing that. Today we're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to talk about the injuries that the Cowboys have and that the Saints have, and see what kind of difference that's going to make for these two teams. Another thing we're going to talk about the Cowboys offense against the Saints defense, and vice versa. We're going to talk about the Saints offense against the Cowboys defense. We're going to talk about the 3 X factors that I have for this football game, and then we'll get to the predictions. But first, I wanted to ask everybody a question. Who would be and I'll take my hat off here so you can see the hair too. Who would my celebrity doppelganger be? Because recently on Twitter, word has come up that I may indeed have a celebrity doppelganger. And I wasn't entirely happy with the name that I got. Now, a couple names I'm okay with, but the one in particular I was not happy with. Now, we'll get into the Cowboys a little bit. Specifically, let's get into the injuries, because this could have a big effect on the way that this game goes on Thursday, tomorrow night. So let's check these out. We have Tavon Austin, who is going to be out. He still has that nagging groin injury. I don't know if we see him for the rest of the year. I don't hear any. Jerry keeps saying that it's good, that it's coming back, but we don't ever hear what that progression is. So I don't really know how to feel about that. Taco Charlton, he's been a full participant. He was kind of a full participant last week. Mike Fisher came out with a story about how he was kind of upset about a couple of things. So that's something that's pretty interesting, hearing about that. Hopefully he plays, and hopefully he can contribute, because that adds to this defensive line that you need. You need to have bodies to go in and out. Okay, so we have from Ari, we have Miles Teller, and that's the only one we've gotten so far. We need more. I need to figure out who I look like. Miles Teller I've heard before, but I heard others. And when I see this name, I'll let you guys know. Another injury, Malik Collins. He's always hurt, but he always seems to play. He doesn't really miss games. He has a knee injury, that nagging one that he's got. Alan Hearns is a thumb injury. He's been a full participant. He's listed as questionable, but I don't see anything happening poorly there. David Irving is somebody I want to talk about. He's still rehabbing from that ankle injury, but he has not been around. And I talked about this on my podcast with Blogging the Boys. It's called Talking the Star, with Connor Livesay and Cole Patterson, that you just can't trust him at this point. You don't know when he's going to be on the field and when he's not going to be on the field. Even when he's not injured. He has been suspended multiple times. You can't count on him. And this is somebody with all the talent in the world, but can't seem to stay on the football field. And you need to be able to. So, there's no way that I'm paying him at the end of the season. I'm letting him walk. I don't even think vet minimum is going to get me to keep him there because he's just too much of a distraction. It's something that you don't need, and there are guys on the defensive line who can bring not the same production, but enough production on that interior to open things up a little bit for Tank Lawrence. Sean Lee is still out. I'm waiting for him to become a coach and not a player because at this point that seems to be the way that it's trending. I think that he will end up being back for the Philadelphia game, but it does not look like he has already been ruled out, so he won't play. Zach Martin's hurt still. He's got that nagging knee injury. He's going to play. He's a monster. He's not going to be out. Adam Redmond has a concussion, but he's been a full participant. Daniel Ross has a calf injury. He's been a full participant. So we have bodies coming back on the defensive line, which is good, and that's really going to help out against this running game that the Saints have. We have Daniel Ross is also going to be back. It's another good one on the defensive line. Let's talk about Tyron Smith. He's questionable. He's going to be a game-time decision. They're going to test him out tomorrow and see how it goes. If you have to test him out tomorrow, I don't want him playing. He doesn't need to play. As important as this game is, it's more important for you to go in next week and beat the Philadelphia Eagles. You need to win your divisional games. This is a team against a very good team, and probably the best team in the National Football League. And you want this because it's a benchmark game. But you don't want to get your starting left tackle even more injured than he already is, throwing him out there when you really need him next week against that defensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles. Especially when the Philadelphia Eagles are hurting so much in the secondary. Xavier Su'a-Filo is also questionable with an ankle injury. We do have Connor Williams, who is healthy and has been a full participant all week. So I'm not really too worried about that. I think that Connor Williams can do enough on the inside to make up for that. It's funny because he was the second-round pick, and we had no expectations for Xavier Su'a-Filo, and he's come in and kind of taken that job. Jeff Swaim's still out. Joe Thomas was a full participant, so we'll see a little bit of him on special teams, maybe a couple reps here and there. Kerry says he doesn't think Tyrone is going to play. I don't think so either. Paul says that, I guess he's talking about David Irving, saying that David Irving is not a true hot boy. I agree with that 100%. He is not a hot boy because he can't get on the field. He can't stay on the field. And like I said, he is one of the most physically gifted defensive linemen in the entirety of the NFL. But if you can't get on the field, I have no need for you. Now, luckily, the Cowboys are facing a team that, doesn't have a lot going on for the injury report, but Teron Armstead is out, which is going to be good because you have Randy Gregory on that side. Randy Gregory is on the football field, so hopefully he is able to make a little bit of a difference with Teron Armstead out. Other than that, it looks like everybody's been a full participant. They got Marcus Davenport back, which adds another element to their rushing attack. They have only given up 11 sacks, and I'll talk about that more. Drew Brees has only been sacked 10 times, Taysom Hill once, but they have one less sack as a team than the Cowboys do. You have Cam Jordan with 8. You have, I'm trying to think of his name right now. I'm going to look at it real quick here. You have Sheldon Rankins with 7 sacks on the interior. So Joe Looney, Zach Martin, Connor Williams, or Xavier Su'a-Filo got to be big in there. And then you do have the rookie Marcus Davenport, who has 4 sacks this season as well. But so injury-wise, we're definitely playing with the worst card this week. But hopefully we are able to overcome it and still put together a pretty decent game. Now, what we're going to do now is kind of talk about this offense. But first, I wanted to get a couple of the comments here. Jeremy Dixon says Justin Long. I got to look that up. I gotta see how much I look like Justin Long real quick. Yeah, you know what? I can see Justin Long a little bit, but Justin Long looks a little bit like another doppelganger that I've gotten that I'm actually upset about. Justin Long, a little bit of a dorky looking dude. I like to think that I'm a little bit better looking than that, but I'm not going to take that as too much of, a downgrade for what I believe in myself. Somebody said Kyle Orton. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't binge drink on the sidelines. I feel like I look younger than Kyle Orton, and I should, but what happens? Christopher Kuhn says, we need to put pressure on Drew Brees. I agree with Tehran out. We might be able to a little bit, but like I said, he's only been sacked 10 times, which is the least amount in the league. One day notice is too close. He should sit out. Fabian's talking about Tyron Smith. I agree with that. Come on, Cowboys, make America great again. I agree with that. The Cowboys should make America's team great again, and they can with a win here. Now, let's talk about this Cowboys offense. I wrote an article on the Cowboys Wire about them. So I'm going to talk to you guys. I'm going to give you the 4 keys to the game. They need to be aggressive. The Cowboys offense does. Now, when I say that, I don't mean go out, sling the ball all over the field, and force Dak to make plays down the field, because I don't think that this is the game to do that. Because the one thing you cannot do is turn the ball over against this team, because they're not going to turn it over against you. Drew Brees, that team holds on to the ball very well. Drew Brees, only 2 interceptions all season so far. What I mean by be aggressive is every time you cross the 50-yard line, you should be looking at this as 4-down territory. And I say that because the Saints team, and you can look at these statistics on Football Outsiders, they are first in the league in yards per drive, points per drive, at 3.76 points per drive. So every time the Dallas Cowboys kick a field goal, theoretically, they're losing almost an entire point every time they kick a field goal. So whenever you cross the 50, if you're at 4th and 5s or less, I think that you should be going for it and trying to score touchdowns, because field goals aren't going to do it against this team. Now, one of the benefits of having that thought is that when you cross the 50, you only need 2.5 yards per play if it's if it's truly 4-down territory. You have a running back who you took 4th overall in the draft in 2016 that is able to get you 2.5 yards per carry. So when you get past the 50-yard line, turn around and hand Zeke the ball and keep doing that. Now, if on first down you run the football with him and he picks up 6 or 7 yards, then run play action off of that and try to get easy completions over the middle with linebackers cheating up. Still use Amari Cooper in man coverage when he's against Eli Apple. Now, something I noticed about the Saints defense is they do not normally travel their second-year cornerback over with team's best receivers. They, Marshawn Lattimore sticks to that right side of the defense. So I think that they will be able to get things done against that team and kind of exploit that Eli Apple matchup there. Now, like I said, keep running the ball, pound it when you get past the 50, and score some freaking touchdowns. I don't want to see Brett Maher out there unless he absolutely has to be out on the field. Now, we're getting back to some Facebook comments here. We have to keep Brees off the field. Yes, we do. I'll get to that offense a little bit more here in a minute. I'm still going to talk a little bit more about the Cowboys offense, specifically that offensive line. If we can't get a sack, Anthony Donaldson, the biggest Cowboy fan I know. If we can't get a sack, we can still get pressure. I agree. Anthony, the thing that they do, and I'll talk about it when they get to the offense, is they move the pocket. They don't give you a target. They move the pocket to get Drew Brees, who is a short quarterback, away so he can get better throwing windows. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able, because normally they move the pocket right, but you have Tank Lawrence on that side, so that'll be an interesting little matchup. Aggressive but cautious, if that makes sense, from Zachary. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Use that passing attack when you're on your own side of the field. But once you get over to their side of the field, smash that ball down their throat. Now, the Saints are supposed to have the best rushing offense in the league, but they get up. I mean, they have the least amount of attempts against them. They also have 3.6 yards per carry against, which is also the best, but they haven't faced any good rushing attacks besides really the Rams. And Todd Gurley got hurt in that game, only had 13 carries, and he averaged over 5 yards a carry. What I've seen when they played the Falcons, when they played the Eagles, is both of those offensive lines were able to get a push against this defensive line. So I think that number, a lot like in the Cowboys-Philadelphia game where Ezekiel Elliott went off for 151, I think that they can do the same type of thing in this game. I think that the defense is kind of a myth, that defensive line, that front seven. I don't think they're as good as the numbers indicate they are. Exactly 4 down territory. Got to keep Breeze off the field. I agree. We need defense bad. Then that buzzer shot, bummer. Cooper is what we think he is. Yeah, Cooper's amazing. I would like to see Beasley get open a little bit this game and get him a couple of targets, keep him happy. I like when he is happy. Getting over to the Phantom page and looking at the comments on that page as well. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But let's get over to the Saints offense real quick, because I did want to talk about that. They're the truth. This Saints defense, or the Saints offense, is absolutely the truth. They do things, and it's just beautiful simplicity. They get to the line early. They go into motion. They figure out if they're playing man or zone, the defense. And then from there, if the defense is in man, they'll be in a 2x2 set, motion over to a 3x1, figure out if it's man or zone. If it's man, they'll motion him back over, and then they'll motion that other outside receiver back over to the other side, so it's just a tight end on that side. And then they'll run to that side because they have numbers over there, because there's less defenders. There's less people to block on that side of the field. Another thing that they do is they use Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram on the field at the same damn time, which is what I think the Cowboys should do more with Rod Smith and Ezekiel Elliott. What they'll do is they'll put Alvin Kamara in jet motions and fake to him. Defense starts moving that way. They hand Mark Ingram the ball off inside, and he pops off for a 6-yard run. The Cowboys are going to have to stay extremely, they're going to have to read their keys on defense. These linebackers, Jalen Smith, LVE, Wolf Hunter, you're going to have a big game this week if we want to win this game, if we want to stop this defense. Now, I want to get into some of these numbers. The New Orleans Saints average the most points per game. Big deal. Here's why they're so good. They do that on the least amount of offensive drives in the league. Nobody has touched the ball on offense less than the New Orleans Saints. 107 drives on offense. They average 43.45 yards per drive, that's first. 3.76 points per drive, that's first. They're 7th in turnovers against per drive. So they don't turn the ball over very often. If anything, what they do is they fumble the ball more than they have passes intercepted. They're the best at starting line of scrimmage. They have the best number of plays per drive at 6.81. Time of possession, 3.22. And drive success rate, 0.827. They are first in all of those categories. This offense is legit. But this offense hasn't faced a defense that is playing as well as this one, other than maybe the Baltimore Ravens. And they only scored 24 points against those Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Ravens do tend to turn the ball over a little bit more. I didn't look at the turnovers in that game. I just watched part of it. Didn't get the numbers on it. But the Cowboys need to figure out a way to turn the ball over against the Saints this week. Get a little sip of water here. Yes. Their run defense is good because teams are constantly playing from behind. I agree with that. Richard, you said that your Going true Dallas fan, but Dallas' secondary sucks nads. It doesn't. Dallas' secondary is very good. Dallas' secondary doesn't get interceptions. Don't expect them to get any interceptions against Drew Brees. But Chidobe Awuzie, and that's somebody that I wanted to talk about real quick about this defense. Chidobe Awuzie's coverage is fine. He just needs to get his head around. The minute he starts to get his head around, this defense is going to be absolutely fine because he's going to start turning the ball over. They're going to try to pick on him because they're not going to throw to Byron Jones' side. Watch this offense this week. Drew Brees. Watch how many times he throws the ball to the left side of the field. I guarantee it's less than a third of the time. I guarantee if he has 30 attempts, less than 8 are going to go to that side of the field. Because they're not even going to try. There's no need to. If the Cowboys are in man coverage, even if it's Michael Thomas, I see them trying to get him rub routes moving over the middle and trying to knock Byron Jones off of his stride. They can try to go one-on-one. I want to see that matchup. I want to see can't guard Mike against lockdown Byron Jones. That's something that I'm going to pay attention to the entire game. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know if they're going to get him at all on that side deep. I don't think that they will. I think if anything, Byron's going to let anything that's going to happen go underneath him. And at the end of the day, we're still going to look at him as a lockdown corner. The secondary, the safeties have been playing well. Xavier Woods has played way better recently than he had in the first couple of weeks of the season. Jeff Heath is Jeff Heath. If there's anybody that's going to get a turnover, it's going to be a ball that bounces off of somebody's face, and it's going to be either LVE or it's going to be the GOAT, Jeff Heath. And Terrence Briscoe says, as long as we keep the ball away from Brees, we win. Our defense will stand up. Y'all act like we haven't beaten them before. And that's the thing. Like, I do believe that we can win this game. I don't believe they're going to come in and kick the shit out of us. I don't think that that's going to happen, especially with the Cowboys being at home. This is a big game. They had a freaking pep rally today at the stadium. Like, this game is huge. These guys are going to come out hot. Those hot boys are going to come out and try to get to Drew Brees. Now, I think that the Saints are still going to score points. This isn't a team. This team is too good for the Cowboys to hold them to 17 points. So the offense is going to have to do something. They're going to have to score a couple of points to win this football game. Now, like I said, we can win. But we talk about keeping the ball away from Drew Brees, and that's why I caution, hey, yes, keep them to the fewest amount of possessions that you can. But what I'm saying is normally that doesn't matter. What you have to do is you have to make sure that you take control of the possessions that you have on offense. You need to score because this New Orleans team is going to get theirs. That's just the way that it is. This offense, like I said, they scheme guys to succeed, which is such a novel idea. But it's one that more teams need to do. Especially your team, the Dallas Cowboys. And the offenses look better, but that's a lot of just guys beating guys. The offense has been a little bit more creative. They're trying to get Dak in a better position. And obviously, Amari Cooper has helped out tremendously. But I don't think that it's big enough to just talk about that. We need to talk about this offense and getting Paul Alexander out of here and bringing that nastiness that Mark Colombo brings. And I think that that's why this offensive line has done well. And if Xavier Su'a-Filo can't go, I'm interested to see if that new aggressiveness that we've seen out of this offensive line comes out in Connor Williams and he plays with a little more strength instead of, trying to use the Paul Alexander technique where it's high-low and you're kind of just catching guys, because that didn't work well with him because he lacks some of that functional strength. I don't think they'll have an issue. Now, if you came in a little bit late to the live stream, let me know who my celebrity doppelganger is. I still haven't seen the name on here that I'm looking for. So keep spitballing, people. Now, secondaries doesn't suck. Cowboys D is 12th in the league. That's Ari talking. I don't have to talk about that. Now, beating them before and beating them now isn't the same thing. There are a lot of different of the dynamic now, but I still believe in us. Zachary said that. I believe in that too. Patrick Kahn, my buddy who hopefully we're able to figure things out. It turns out my processor on my computer isn't fast enough to stream both of us. So it's just going to be me until we kind of figure out what we're doing from there. Until we can figure out how to, if Patrick can do things on his end to get us both in, so you're not just looking at me and listening to me the entire time. I know I'm great, but we'll see if we can get that dialogue between two people instead. Let's get back to some other comments here, because we do have more. That's why Tyron needs to be on the field. Steven Datwell. Yeah, I would love for Tyron to be on the field, but like I already said, that next game is more important. I'm more worried about that Eagles game than anything, because that's the one that really matters. Now, it's can the Cowboys defense stop the Saints offense is the question. It's slowing them down, and I think that they can slow them down enough to win this game. I'll get to my prediction at the end. I'll give you a score, give you a little bit better feel of how I think individual players are going to do. I'll predict the game. But until then, let's talk about this defense a little bit more. Let's talk about Leighton Vander Esch, because I feel like we do talk about him quite a bit, but we still don't talk about him enough. And this is something that we'll get into more at the end of the season. But where is his ceiling? Where is it? How high can he go? Is this a Michael Jordan, the ceiling is the roof kind of deal? Does he have the physical ability to be one of the all-time greats like Troy Aikman said he could be, or that he would be? I would say that he does, because this is a guy who, if you look on his mock draftable, his spider chart, and you looked where he came from, playing 8-man football, this is still only about his, less than 25 games started playing 11-on-11 man football. He gained 50 pounds in college. He is a freak athlete in the 90th plus percentile in most of his athletic scores. Dude is an absolute monster. And if he can get the same type of mental processor that somebody like Sean Lee had, and that's why Sean Lee, even when he's not playing, is so important to this football team. And it's something that you'll hear me argue with my co-host Walt about tomorrow during the stream of the game, is he wants Sean Lee gone. I'm okay with paying Sean Lee. I would love for it if he takes a little bit of a pay cut, because chances are he's not going to see 12 games next year. But we don't need him to. We need his brain more than anything else. Now, is he still the best linebacker on the team when he's in there? He probably is, just because of how quick he processes things, how good he can control the rest of the defense, get guys to where they need to be. That's something that you're going to miss against Drew Brees this week. The mental aspect of it. Now, we can still go out there and, like Tank said, try to choke them out. And I think that that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to be physical against this offense. This offense does a lot of window dressing. They do a lot of motion. They use guys creatively. Hell, they put Drew Brees out on a pass play and had Taysom Hill throw him the ball on a 4th and 1. Sean Payton has cojones. He does whatever the F he wants. That's something that we're going to have to try to defend against. We're going to have to try to outsmart him. And if you can't outsmart him, like Tank said, just beat the hell out of him. And I think that that's something that they can do. Now, You won't see Byron Jones do that against anybody because that's not Byron Jones's game. But Chidobe on the other side, Jeff Heath, Xavier Woods will lay the boom over the middle. He'll take a 15-yard penalty. Hell, I'll take a 15-yard penalty. I want those guys to fear going over the middle. I want them to think that they're going to get their heads taken off. Because all that does is help this defense. Now, back to what I was talking about earlier is them moving the pocket. Drew Brees it is incredible to watch him drop back and pass the ball. And I say that because he gets back there, and when he has a normal pocket where he drops straight back, he literally stands on his tiptoes and lifts his chin all the way up in the air to find his throwing lanes. And then he throws a rope in stride to wide receivers on deep outs from the far hash. I mean, the dude is incredible to watch. Now, what they like to do a lot is do like quick little sprint outs to like the right side of the tackle box, like just outside where the tackle would be, especially on quick throws, something that would normally be a 3-step or a quick 5-step drop. And as soon as his back foot hits, he releases that ball. So you have to get on him quick. And that's something that I wonder if they're going to do as much when you have somebody like Tank Lawrence on that side of the field. Are they going to be able to move that pocket in that direction and not get Drew Brees killed by one of the best pass rushers in the league? Because mostly those kinds of pass rushers either move around quite a bit or play the quarterback's blind side on that right side. And now, I think they're still going to have to try to do that because you have a backup offensive tackle trying to block Randy Gregory off the edge who can beat you around the arc and get those sacks around the edge. So, it'll be interesting to see what they do from that perspective. Longtime Cowboys fan, but Drew and the boys are clicking in every way. Saints by 14 to 28 points. David, no. This Cowboys first of all, this Cowboys defense will do enough to where I don't think the Saints are scoring 40 points. This is good defense. The Vikings are a pretty good defense. The Saints scored 30. The Ravens, damn good defense. Saints scored 24. I think that 21 or 24 to 31 type of range, that's where it's going to be. I mean, I don't think they're going to go out and score 35 points. I don't think they're going to score 5 touchdowns. I personally don't. I don't think that they're going to be able to run the ball with as much consistency as they like to. Because we've seen games this season where Drew Brees has thrown for 120 yards. 120 yards. In a game that they won. That was the Vikings game. We would kill Dak if he threw the ball for 120 yards. And they won that game. Scored 30 points with him throwing for 120 yards. And that's what I'm saying. That they can do it in multiple ways. I don't think that they're going to score a ton of points in this game, though. So, David, it's not doomsday time yet. Cowboys will be all right. Steven said we need Lee as a coach. That's why you can't lose him to another team. Because by the time he retires, you want him to immediately step in. You want to throw money at him outside the salary cap as a coach. Throw as much money as you need at him for him to step off of the field and straight into being a coach right away. Need just a little bit of water. Gotta keep the throat going. Got a lot of talking to do tomorrow as well. Gotta get to these comments as well. Let's see. Cowboys beat is a good one this week. During LVE interviews, you would think you're listening to Sean Lee. That's from Carrie. I agree. That's because he's just being a sponge off of Sean Lee, which is cool to watch because, like I said, if he can get that mental processor, we're looking at somebody that has a Brian Urlacher type of ceiling. I mean, I truly believe that it's that high because of his physical profile, because of how good of an athlete he is. Make sure that you guys are going to Knockouts tomorrow if you have the opportunity. That place is wild. It is going to be one hell of a time. If you want to get on a microphone and talk some Cowboys with Walt and I, we will have a microphone for you. If you are watching, we will show you the bar. We will show you the girls. We will show you the people having fun. And you will be able to see my face and Walt's beautiful face as well. Their offense is real, however, our defense is real. I agree with that. Ari says, he's talking about a podcast. The Cowboys are definitely dialed into this game, and all they have to do is execute. And I think that is a huge part of this game, and that's how you're going to be able to run the football if you execute. I don't think that this defense, like I've said earlier, is good enough to stop you from executing. Or stop you from putting up yards and points against them. It all comes down to how sharp you are on offense. Because if you get your hands in the correct placement as a lineman, I think they'll be all right. Another thing that I think they need to do on offense is use Noah Brown as a blocker. That brings another defensive back in, takes a linebacker off of the field, and that means that when Noah Brown comes in to block on the inside, he's bringing a corner in. He's normally blocking a linebacker. So you're one-on-one, if everything goes well, with Ezekiel Elliott and a defensive back, and I will take that 100 times out of 100. The lie detector determined that was a lie. 31-24 Cowboys. Anthony Donaldson. Ari Temkin saying 31-27. Ari, are you saying that the Cowboys are going to win this game? Now, I want to get into some of the more advanced statistics for the Saints defense, because it's really not all that great. Let me get to it here. They are 27th in yards per drive allowed. 22nd in points per drive allowed. They do get turnovers. So, back to what I was saying about the offense being aggressive but not turning the ball over. The Saints defense gets off the field by turning the ball over. Something that they're good at, something that they're top 10 at. If the Cowboys are able to control the ball, and that's something that is a phenomenal stat that Dak Prescott and these Cowboys are 23-1 when he does not turn the ball over. Statistics can lie to you. That seems pretty cut and dry. Now, there was a second game that they lost. Dak started it. He didn't finish it. It was that final Eagles game in 2016. He didn't turn the ball over. They weren't playing. So that game doesn't really matter all that much. Zachary says 34-27 Dallas. Patrick Kahn says 31-28. I don't know. Patrick, who are you talking about? Are you talking Cowboys winning this, or are you talking Saints winning this? Now let's get into some of the X factors for this game on Thursday night. Who are the X factors for the Cowboys in this game? First, Kerry says Noah Brown has been making some key blocks for Zeke. Kerry, if you have Twitter, I want you to follow me. You can see it right there at Cowboys_DBM. I do video threads of every game after I get on the All-22. You will see some videos of Noah Brown going up the middle and hitting linebackers who he's giving up 30 pounds to sometimes, getting position, using leverage to shield them away from Ezekiel Elliott and springing good runs. It is so much fun. This is something that John Williams, somebody who is big on Cowboys Twitter, talks about quite a bit. He uses the term light end to talk about Noah Brown. He's kind of a mix between a tight end and a wide receiver. So if teams do start saying, hey, they run the ball 85% of the time when Noah Brown's out there, keep a linebacker on him. Guess what they'll do? They'll put him out there, put him one-on-one against a linebacker, and get him toasted every single play. Because he can beat a linebacker one-on-one, that's no question. And then Dak Prescott starts winning you football games because Noah Brown's going off. Noah Brown is a mismatch machine. And I talked about this in the article I wrote for the Cowboys Wire. Jamiz Olawale is a fine football player. There is no reason Jamiz Olawale needs to see the football field because he is not that sort of mismatch that Noah Brown is. He comes on, he blocks just about as well. And he brings a linebacker on. A linebacker has an easier job covering Olawale. And if the blocking is the same, why put him out there? Put Noah Brown's hand in the dirt for all I care. Put him down and use him as a damn fullback, as well as an H-back, as well as in motion. I don't care. Get him blocking linebackers because he's damn good at it. Ari Temkin says, X Factor, D-line, backup, tanks, words. Get after Breeze. My 3 X Factors are going to be Chidobe Awuzie, Cameron Fleming, and Jason Garrett. Now, Chidobe Awuzie is one of my X Factors because I believe that they are going to try to pick on him once again, kind of like other teams have been doing. And I think that they're going, unless they're stubborn, I think that they're going to move Michael Thomas around quite a bit, put him on Chidobe Awuzie quite a bit because they feel it's a favorable matchup. If Chidobe Awuzie has a big game, we know Byron is. And Anthony Brown has been very good this year so far. So if Chidobe has a big game and kind of takes away the passing game a little bit, we could see them only give up 3 touchdowns to the Saints team. We could see them hold them under 30 points. Now, I had a stat earlier on Twitter that I'm going to get to from somebody that I follow, Kevin Brady, who's another big guy on Cowboys Twitter, is everyone's talking about how the Saints haven't scored less than 30 points since October 24th. The Cowboys haven't allowed 30 points since November 19th of last year. So that's a damn good track record. And that's because they don't give up a ton of drives. There's not a ton of possessions to go around. And you would hope that the team would score 30 points more often and win a few more of these games, but you know, sometimes things just don't turn out that way. Sometimes things just don't go well and your offense gets into a little bit of a funk, kind of how it's been, and it's been turning around. And now you see them get onto, you know, these three game win streaks that they're on right now. Wanted to get back to Facebook real quick though. Anthony says, good 3, Dalton. Thank you. So that is one of the reasons why Chidobe Awuzie is the X factor. I also think that he brings a physicality to that side of the field that I like, especially in the run. They try to run outside quite a bit. They like to get their guys in space, especially Alvin Kamara. And they also use guys on wide receivers on jet sweeps as well. Hopefully they're able to defend that. Hopefully they're able to read their keys and get those guys. My next one, like I said, is Cameron Fleming. Because Cameron Jordan is one of the best edge defenders in the league. If Cam Fleming is able to hold up and have a decent game. And if the Cowboys are able to protect Dak Prescott, who, as we all know, they can, Dak Prescott can hold on to the ball a little bit too long sometimes. Not something I'm going to harp on right now, but if they can give him a good pocket, give him a lane to step into where he can really focus on his lower body mechanics, just doing what they're supposed to do, he will be able to throw the ball all up and down this field, because this Saints secondary, save for Marshawn Lattimore and their safety, who I'm drawing a blank on his name, Marcus Williams, who obviously had the big non-play last year in the playoffs that hurt the Saints. He's a damn good football player. Those two are good. The rest of the team, Eli Apple, he's just a guy. And then you have the linebackers that don't gain good depth against play action. So I want you to use play action. And that's where Jason Garrett comes into play. If Scott Linehan wants to do his old dumbass trick of not calling play action, I want Jason Garrett to get on the line and say, hey, Scott, stop being a dumbass. Let's run some play action, because we have one of the best running backs in the league, and we can get these linebackers coming up. But Cam Fleming, that matchup against Cameron Jordan is going to be huge. Now, Jason Garrett, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. Jason Garrett this week needs to go to the school of Sean Payton, the F-it school of Sean Payton, and just go for it. Like I said earlier, field goals aren't going to do a damn thing for you in this game. So go out and try to score. Run it down their throats every time you get past the 50-yard line. Run that play action when you get a good run on first down. Get easy throws against zones. Get into motion, which was another key to the game for me. Get into motion early and figure out if they are in man or if they're in zone. See if those guys travel. If they're in man, get into a favorable look. Run those zone reads. Use Dak's legs. Just run it down their throats. Use Dak Prescott a bit like they use Taysom Hill at times. His legs are his best weapon. That's not a bad thing. The mechanical issues that he has are a bad thing. Him holding onto the ball too long is a bad thing. But his legs being the best thing is not a bad thing. And that's something that I think that you can use against this team, this Saints defense. Wondering if extra eyes on Coop could free up Beasley and maybe Gallup. I'm hoping that the Cowboys try to match up Amari Cooper against Eli Apple and really exploit that matchup instead of using him on the left side of the offense against Marshawn Lattimore, because he had a little bit of a down part of the first part of my Dallas Cup. For a bad first part of the season, and came out of the gates a little bit slow. But has really come on of late. Now, another thing I wanted to say, and I'm saying this specifically for Cowboy Stats and Graphics, if he is listening, that the Cowboys do, in fact, this game, if any, I'm going to go away from EPA. I'm going to go away from passing the ball is what you do. And I'm going to say, establish the run. Now, I won't be a dumbass and say that you need to establish the run to use play action. You can use play action whenever the hell you want. There's no correlation between the two. That's for you, Cowboy Stats. Beasley going to homicide the Aints. In man coverage, I think he will. And I think that, like I said, if this team, if they do decide to be dumb, the Cowboys, and put Marshawn Lattimore or put Cooper on his side and Lattimore does a good job, that Beasley matchup is one that you can exploit because he will get open against man, against anybody. And that's something that, Amari Cooper will do as well, but, maybe at a little bit lesser pace against Marshawn Lattimore. Gallup, on the other hand, if you do use that matchup, we talk about those eyes being on Cooper. That hasn't happened yet. Now, could it in this game? I think it could. If Cooper, or if Lattimore does travel for whatever reason, then, Michael Gallup could have a big day against Eli Apple, especially down the field before the 50-yard line. You don't got to take chances after that because you don't want to turn the ball over when you have a chance for 4-down territory to score touchdowns. But yes, Patrick established the run. Going to go to some more comments here. Take a quick break, and then we'll get to my predictions. Real quick. Jason Garrett, if you're listening, go for it. Just go for it. It's prediction time. Done a lot of talking. How these Cowboys can possibly beat the vaunted New Orleans Saints, the best football team in the National Football League. Didn't come off right, but forgive me. Dallas will shock the world. This is from Bobby Corley. Dallas will shock the world. They always play the best when their backs are against the wall. Bobby, I kind of agree with that. The Cowboys play well against good teams. It's been weird, and then they lose games that they shouldn't, like the Titans game. We will need to put up at least 30 against them, maybe more. Tim Hudson, I believe that. Only X factor that matters is our D from Steven. I don't agree with that. I think the offensive line needs to play well, or this could be a long game for Dak Prescott. And the offense, because when they get behind the chains, they are not as effective. Tank gets 2 sacks. I would love that. Let's go Cowboys. We can do this. Let's get to the predictions. I think that Dak Prescott has a good game from an efficiency standpoint. I think that he throws for over 250 yards. I think that Ezekiel Elliott runs for over 100 yards. I think that he has 30-plus touches in this game. I think that they will run the ball quite a bit. I think that they will go for it a couple times in 4th down and shorter situations past their own 50-yard line on the Saints side of the field, which I heard from another Twitter follower, somebody that I follow closely as well. Adam, I don't know his exact Twitter account, but Adam is a big stats guy as well as Cowboy Stats and Graphics. Talking about the Cowboys have not gone for it on a 4th and 1 or longer than a 4th and 1, except for in certain situations, late in games, late in first halves, those kinds of situations. I think that could change this week. And I think that it might need to change if the Cowboys want to score enough points to win this game. Now, Dak Prescott, like I said, big game. I think Tank gets at least 1 sack. I think that this team gets at least 3 sacks. I think Randy Gregory also gets a sack. So that means 1 sack from the interior somewhere. Maybe Dorrance Armstrong. Maybe Taco Charlton. We'll see if he's still got a shoulder issue, how many snaps he plays. We'll see. I think they get over 3 sacks. I think Amari Cooper has an effect on this game. I don't think it'll be huge. I think that the linebackers do play a good game. I think that they somewhat hold this Saints offensive rushing attack. Covering Alvin Kamara out of the backfield is going to be huge. I think that that's a job for Leighton Vander Esch. I think that what you want to do is you want to put a lot of pressure on this offensive line. Blitz with Jalen Smith quite a bit. Try to get the ball out of Drew Brees' hands quickly. I don't think that Alvin Kamara, for as shifty as he is, for as good in the open field as he can be, that he will make Leighton Vander Esch, what I call him, people call him the Wolf Hunter. I call him Leighton Vice Grips Vander Esch. I think that he will tackle Alvin Kamara more often than not. So I think that that's also a big matchup, and I think that they'll do a pretty decent job. Now, I think that this offense or this defense is going to give up a bunch of yards, but I think that they will be able to hold them to a couple of field goals in this game. Now to the prediction. I've talked about it. I've gone back and forth. On the podcast, Talking the Star podcast, I said 31-23, Saints are going to win this game. Well, I'm changing it. I'm feeling it. Y'all are talking me into it. Got the biggest Cowboys fan I've ever met. Cowboys from head to toe. I have faith in you, Dallas Cowboys. 34-31 on the leg of a Brett Maher field goal at the end of the game for a Cowboys win. Y'all talked me into it. The streak ends. The Cowboys finally give up 30 points again. But they win the football game. Y'all have talked me into it. Cowboys are going to go to 7-5 with a big game against the Philadelphia Eagles this week, who, in the comments after this, because I'm almost out of time here, who do you want to win that football game this week? The Redskins or the Eagles? And who do you fear more going down the line between those two teams? Talk about that in the comments. Cowboys win. Get a big one against the New Orleans Saints. They're going to take an L this week. Tune in tomorrow. If you have Twitter, follow me at Cowboys_DBM. My partner is not here. Follow him at Draft Cowboys. I also have a YouTube channel for my draft podcast. I also have my draft podcast, which is the Blue Chip Scouting NFL Draft Podcast. If you would like to check that out, that's a general draft podcast. I do talk, Cowboys. There is a little bit of a slant because I'm a Cowboys fan. Join us tomorrow for the game. Take in the views. Drink a beer with me over the screen. And go Cowboys.